we may record this chat and post it so people that weren't able to join us live can still hear it if they choose to. Still not sure if we're going to do that or not, but just something to keep in mind if you want to go live on the stage, that it's going to be recorded and it may be released for other people on the server to download or stream and listen to at their convenience. So, all that being said, I think the first thing, Mark, we should do is talk a little bit about what everyone is discussing on the server. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a range of things from all channels are quite active recently. Some more than others, but uh,
That's how it
yeah, it's
goes.
not it. Yeah, but it's not dedicated to one specific streaming server
No,
service.
no. For example,
So
on the Disney Plus channel, all the talk seems to be about the Turner and Hooch show that premiered today.
yeah, yeah. Did you see it already?
Oh no, no, no. I probably will check it out. I'm interested in doing that, especially since it has what it stars Josh Peck, who many of you know from way back from Drake and Josh, and I think he's entertaining. So I'm sure that I will check it out. I'm just not sure that I'll be able to get right to it. I'm falling behind on all the Disney Plus content,
Mhm.
but it looks interesting. It's a show they announced way back, right at when they announced the launch of Disney Plus itself. It was one of the first. It was amongst those batches of shows that they had announced right from the very beginning, and it's taken us this long to finally see it come out. So I'm interested to see if it was worth the wait.
Yeah, same. I haven't seen the first so the prequel or the legacy one, call it whatever you want.
Yeah, the movie.
Yeah, yeah, with Tom Hanks, I believe.
Yep, yep.
Um, but yeah, I'm interested in the new reboot with on Disney Plus. So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Why not? I just can't keep up with everything on Disney Plus, man. Like I just got done watching. We'll talk about it later, but I just got done with Loki, and I'm behind on High School Musical, the series, and we just started watching some other stuff on there. So yeah, I'm behind. But speaking of getting behind, Johnny Test. People were talking about Johnny Test in the Netflix channel. Are you familiar with Johnny Test, Mark?
no, not at all. I've looked it up on Google to see what it's about, but no, I've never watched the series. I've never heard of it. So that
It's a
maybe that's
it's an
an
anime.
American classic or something.
Well, I'm not sure if it's a classic, but it's definitely a show that a lot of people grew up on. I've watched a lot of it with my son when he was younger, and it's a good show. I actually enjoyed it. It has a really distinctive art style, um, and I always liked it, and it has quite a niche of fans. And so when I heard they were bringing it back, I was interested, and I think a lot of people were. And it came out on Netflix. I'm not sure when exactly, within the past couple of weeks, but I didn't even, it really slipped by me. I knew it was coming and I knew it was going to be on Netflix, but I didn't even realize it had actually been released until someone on the Netflix channel had mentioned it. So I'm not sure what Netflix is doing to promote the show.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of the advertising for Johnny Test, and so yeah, I haven't seen a trailer either. So not sure what happened there.
I'm not even sure if they're doing it yet. I mean, it seems to me like they're not pushing it very hard. You know, oftentimes when you log into Netflix, you'll have the ads for. I guess they wouldn't call them ads, but they have some kind of featured content on there, and I'm sure it's different for different people depending on how they customize that interface, but I haven't seen anything for it at all. I don't know.
I'm just I'm just looking for it, and apparently the 18th of June, so roughly a month ago, they've put up the trailer on YouTube.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that was not on the actual Netflix account. It was on a sub account from Netflix. So
Really? That's
yeah,
terrible. But that's I mean that speaks to one of the common complaints about Netflix. Just really briefly, I should mention one of the common complaints with Netflix is it has so much content that a lot of it just gets lost in the shuffle. Even known brands such as like Johnny Test or other IP gets brought over to Netflix, and it just gets buried under the avalanche of content that Netflix brings out. And that's one of the complaints about the service, is that it's not able to highlight all of its content because there just is so much of it. Have you run into
yeah.
anything like that before?
Well, actually, no. Yeah, sure. Not all shows on Netflix are advertised the same. Um, but all the major ones, and not sure if Johnny Test is a major series for Netflix, but all the major ones seem to have some kind of advertising, either on YouTube or on Netflix itself or on social media.
Yeah, well, I don't know what they're gonna do with it, but I hope it works out well because I have fond
And
memories of the original. So
and regarding Johnny Test, the original, was it always on Netflix? Because it looks like something it could belong on Nickelodeon or something.
no, it was not on Netflix. It was I'm not sure if it's ever been on Netflix. I guess I don't know if it has in recent time they've picked up the rights to it, but it was on Cartoon Network unless my memory is failing me, but it was a show that was on Cartoon Network, which is doesn't have any kind of solid affiliation with Netflix. It's owned by, isn't it a Warner? A Warner owned streaming the TV channel, broadcast channel. So yeah, that's how I remember. I'm pretty sure that's how I watched it back in 10 years ago or 12 years ago or whenever.
Yeah.
You could still easily find it on television. It was on Cartoon Network, and that's how I watched it.
Yeah, I think that's why I didn't remember it. We only had Cartoon Network the last 10, 12-ish years. So
Yeah,
before that, we didn't have that.
yeah. Well, talking about kids content, although I would
Yeah,
contest, I
it's
would contest that all content is for everyone. There's not, all kid content is everyone's content, not just for kids. But people in the Nickelodeon channel are again talking about the new iCarly. It's not a reboot. What would you call it? It's just really a continuation, and it's still going. I mean, it's still airing. It's still releasing new episodes weekly, and they just announced that they have approved a second season for iCarly. So the audience it must have found an audience on Paramount Plus, and they must be getting pretty good ratings from it to renew it for a second season.
yeah. Well, yeah. I'm all for it. I mean, I I haven't watched one episode from it, so uh, yeah. Once again,
Well, I would be
um,
surprised if they didn't. I would have been really surprised if they had not renewed it because, I mean, Paramount Plus is not a streaming service that has a ton of buzz. It doesn't have a ton of original content. And their best bet, I would assume, for having hit shows or at least popular shows on that service is going back to their deep deep well uh, of IP,
hmm
which includes a lot of stuff that was on Nickelodeon, like Nickelodeon live action stuff, such as iCarly. And really, if if Paramount Plus can't make iCarly work, if they can't make that show a hit, or that, the continuation, a new version of iCarly a hit, then I don't know how they would be able to make any of those older shows, bring them back and make them a hit. Because iCarly was easily the most popular of that group of shows. I'm talking about shows like iCarly and Victorious and Josh and Drake and Sam and Cat and all those Big Time Rush, all those kind of Nickelodeon live action shows from the mid to late 2000s. And so iCarly was easily the most popular of that group of shows, and I don't know, it's probably its most popular live action show of all time. I think it probably has the best ratings of any of their live action shows on Nickelodeon. And so if Paramount Plus can't take that show and turn it into something that gets good ratings and good it gets good satisfaction from Paramount Plus subscribers, and I don't have any hope that they could do any of the other shows.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's easily their most popular show. So if Paramount Plus takes iCarly and it fails, then I don't know. I don't really know how they're gonna use all this older IP to leverage into subscribers. Because if iCarly can't be successful, then how are they gonna bring back Big Time Rush or whatever the other reboots or remakes or spin-offs are going to do? I don't know. So I guess in that sense, I'm not surprised to see that it was renewed for a second season, because not renewing it would be, I think, a public PR nightmare, because it would just speak to the fact that they couldn't even take this wildly popular show, do a continuation of it with almost the entire original cast, and have it be successful, and that would be admitting that they have no idea what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So I'm 100% not shocked that it got a second season, even though I think it's a pretty mediocre show, and that's coming from someone who's a big fan. But I'm going to stick with it. Oftentimes the first season of a show is not the best season, so I'm going to stick with it. It's still good. It's just not great. Anyway, moving on. HBO Max, which is not something you can get in your area, but they added. Nope. Everyone always likes it when they add more account icons, and HBO Max added some new ones recently.
And I've looked at them, and I only recognize the top 3 from Rick and Morty.
Yeah, there's someone there from the Boondocks. Someone posted a screenshot or whatever. There's a couple on there from the Boondocks, which is another old Adult Swim show that, God, has been off the air for 15 years or something. It's still very popular. It's still well liked anyway. But yeah, they haven't done new shows for 15 years or something. But it's cool to see they added stuff on there, that they are taking features that they launched with and still supporting them, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
Speaking of HBO Max, Gossip Girl, the new, I guess it's the reboot of Gossip Girl, just came out. Are you familiar at all with this show, Mark?
Yeah, I'm familiar with my niece watched it. But again.
But you did not.
Yeah, correct. No, it's I always thought it was some kind of teen drama with too soft for my taste, if that's the right word, and
sure.
No offense, if any.
Well, I don't know if it's soft, right? Like, it's a murder mystery.
Yeah, but it's like the whole Uh,
It's a
you have
very like high school culture. Like the main
yeah,
characters are very young, right? They're high school age, the plots revolve around a lot of interpersonal drama.
yeah. It's uh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good way
well,
to describe it.
sure. And oddly enough, these are the kind of shows that I kind of enjoy. Um, I mean, Gossip Girl was on CW or WB or whatever they were calling it back then, and they definitely have like a vibe. All of those shows on that network do, just like all the shows in the CW now have a vibe. Whether it's the DC themed shows or the
Hmm.
Riverdale or whatever, they all have like a similar vibe and a similar demographic that they're aiming their shows toward.
Yeah.
And Gossip Girl definitely falls into that category. And I never watched it when it was on, although I'd heard lots of good things about it. Like I knew a lot of my friends and acquaintances had watched the show and liked it a lot, and had a lot of things that appealed to me. I love a good murder mystery. I really, really do. And a show about teenage drama is kind of appealing to me usually. But
Hmm.
for some reason, I never watched the show. It was probably just because I had other things that I was trying to watch. So I was surprised that they did a reboot of it and that it's out on HBO Max. And I guess I haven't seen a lot of people talking about it. It's just the one episode is out. So it'll be interesting to see if this kind of takes off or not.
Yeah, it's. I think it's the same as Johnny Next of Johnny Test from Netflix. I haven't seen a lot of advertisement for it,
Yeah.
neither on Reddit or on YouTube or whatever.
I did see advertisements for Gossip Girl in the HBO Max app itself. So they're at least
Yeah.
trying, they're trying there. So we'll see. Let's talk about Amazon Prime. So on Amazon
Yeah.
Prime, the Wheel of Time is a show that's going to be on Amazon Prime. Are you excited or familiar with Wheel of Time?
I have heard from it, um, but I haven't seen it, or I haven't seen anything of it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they've released any footage, like a preview or a teaser or anything. I'm not sure if they have. It's based on a book series, a very, very
Yeah.
long book series, fantasy series that the original author of the series, Robert Jordan, I'm pretty sure that's the author, died
Hmm.
before he was able to finish it, and then another author finished it, and everyone seemed to be pretty happy with how it worked out. So there's just a ton of material there for a TV show. They're
Yeah.
never gonna. Seems like they're never gonna run out of source material, like the guys that made a Game of Thrones, where they
Hmm.
had a good amount of source material going into the show, and then all of a sudden they didn't because they
Yeah.
got out ahead of where the books were, and then the show just went to hell after that, in my opinion. But shouldn't be a problem for Wheel of Time. But here's the thing that is worth talking about right now is that Wheel of Time, they announced that they are already starting to shoot season two, the film season two, and season one has not even been released yet.
So they have high hopes for it.
I guess so. I mean,
Well, um, according to Spectro, they have released a 2 to 3 second clip on Twitter. So I'm currently looking for it.
3 whole seconds, huh? All right.
Yeah.
What does that even mean? Okay. Well, I'm excited for it. It's interesting that this year we'll have Wheel of Time and Foundation both coming out, both like big sci-fi slash fantasy novels,
Hmm.
and both coming out in the same year on different streaming services. So it'll either be an embarrassment of riches or just an embarrassment. We'll find out.
Yeah. Well, I hope they stick to the books instead of most of the series. Um, yeah, based on the book, yeah,
Yeah.
they are nothing compared to the book. They
Yeah.
are nothing alike. So let's hope they stick with it with the books.
Are you familiar, Mark? This is something that might just be kind of an American thing, but do you know what TV Everywhere is or was?
Um, well, it I don't know exactly, but I mean the whole thing. I think it's that you have some kind of digital subscription thingy going on to watch TV channels everywhere you go instead of
Right.
only from
Yeah.
the cable or
That's right. So like
okay.
this was something that was meant to be a perk for cable or satellite subscribers, so that if you were away from home, that you could. I mean, this isn't the only circumstance, but I'll explain. So like if you were away from home and you wanted to watch something on demand, right, a show on
Yeah.
a VOD, you could log in to say like CNN's app or CBS's app or Food Network's app or Cartoon Network's app or whatever, and then
Yeah.
you authenticate with your login from your cable or satellite, and then you have access to whatever they've decided to put in the TV Anywhere app, what their particular TV Anywhere app. So whether it's Cartoon Network or Food Network or HGTV or whatever network, AMC or whatever. Um, and at the time, it was a pretty big deal because not only was it a way to watch stuff outside the house, but it was a way to access video on demand in a way that was usually more convenient than doing it through your cable company. And it was kind of seen as a way to not counter, but kind of soften the blow from other streaming services, right? Like you had Netflix and Hulu who were seen as taking viewers away from traditional cable and satellite. And so this was a way to kind of enter that arena with their content, and it was no extra charge. So you had your cable subscription, and you had a login through your cable company, and then you could access this whole family of apps to watch content on your phone or on your streaming device or whatever.
Mhm.
And but as time has worn on, and you have way more streaming services than there were 10 years ago, um,
Yeah.
the question becomes, are the TV Everywhere apps still relevant? That's the question I wonder, because in some ways they kind of are, but they don't offer a lot of the convenience that they offer now, or the value that they offer now, is not nearly as high as the value they offered 7 or 8 years ago,
Yeah.
because it's video on demand with commercials, not the full catalog. Like like if you go into the TV Everywhere app for say Nickelodeon, they're not going to have like full seasons of SpongeBob, or every season full season of SpongeBob or whatever. And like I said, there's still commercials. 7 or 8 years ago, this would have been seen as a high value um, perk, because there was no other way to do this easily or legally. But now, with so many competitors that offer commercial, you pay whatever it is, $7 a month for Discovery Plus. You get all of
Hmm.
those shows, all the back catalog, everything that they can give to you with no commercials, and it's just been so much easier to subscribe to all these various streaming services that don't have commercials. They have full seasons. These apps work really well. There's a lot of investment, a lot of IT investment in them. And then when you look at the TV Anywhere apps, they lack content. The content they do have has commercials. None of these companies are putting money into these apps because they're not. It's not a good investment for them, frankly.
Yeah.
So I just wonder if they're still relevant. I don't know. I mean, it's a question to think about.
Yeah, we have something similar here in the Netherlands, but that's all regulated by the cable companies. So you have your standard internet, television, and telephone um, fee, and within that fee you have your regular cable TV, and you have also the TV app on your iPhone or iPad or Android device or whatever, and you can watch live TV on them, but also have, uh, for example, some HBO shows are on the local streaming apps from our local TV providers.
Well, that's interesting.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's because we don't have HBO Max, so we have, I believe it's Game of Thrones is from HBO.
Mm-hmm. That's
Um,
correct.
Yeah, so we can't watch it on HBO, but we can watch it on our local streaming, cable providers app.
So is this thought of amongst people in the Netherlands? Is this? I mean, I know you can't speak for an entire country, but is it your sense that this is something people use a lot, that people value?
Um, I think so. Yeah, yeah. The Dutch mentality is free is better.
Oh,
So
that's all
yeah,
around the world. Yeah.
yeah, but the Dutch are greedy. So, but now in like most of the Dutch people think there are too many subscription services being started or already available. Looking at America, yeah, you guys have, yeah, a dozen or more subscription services, and we only have Disney Plus and Netflix and Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus, and that's it. And then the local streaming services, and we are already complaining about them. So
Yeah.
it's I think it's um
Honestly, you're not
uh
missing much. I mean, if you had HBO Max, then you would have all of the best content. Really, I mean, the stuff you're missing: Peacock and Paramount Plus, Discover Plus,
oh yeah, we have
whatever
Discovery
else.
Plus too. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
just yeah, Discovery Plus. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
well, I mean, yeah, you guys are doing okay.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The reason I brought that up is because someone in one of the channels was having trouble logging in using their YouTube TV is pretty good amongst the streaming. Like you have Sling TV, right? They don't support TV Anywhere access at all. Then you have Hulu with live TV, and they support some of the TV Anywhere apps. And then YouTube TV does the best job of the maybe not the best. AT&T has a streaming TV platform that has a lot of access to TV Anywhere, but YouTube TV does as well. And so I think I brought it up because someone was having trouble using YouTube TV to log into Cartoon Network's TV Anywhere app, and that's what made me wonder, like, is TV Anywhere going to be around for much longer? Because it seems like a lot of that content is being thrown into other apps, like Cartoon Network content is in the HBO Max app as well. So I just wonder how much longer they're going to keep these things around.
Mm.
At any rate, speaking of Peacock, they had some UI changes that people in the channel were talking about the UI changes for all their various apps, and I think this was brought about because of the Olympics. Because that was Peacock's big. That was meant to be their big. All the content that really pushed Peacock into, and got people to pay attention to Peacock and spend money on Peacock.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how well that's going to work out for them. They probably picked the worst Olympics to invest in.
Yeah,
I guess they couldn't have known that. Uh,
yeah, but at least someone did. I mean, uh, Peacock is quite a big company in America, right?
Peacock?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, it certainly has a big legacy. I mean, it's been around forever.
Yeah,
NBC,
so
CBS,
so
or NBC. No, yeah, NBC.
so it yeah, what did they have to lose? I mean, yeah, obviously a lot of money, but um, to partner with an international uh, sports event, even this one with the pandemic going on, um, I think will gain them a lot of money and a lot of subscribers, especially for if they have all the extra content. The last message in the channel, meet the Olympians, must see Olympic moments, etc., etc. We don't have that here. We
Yeah.
just have the matches, and that's it.
One of the things that's weird about the Olympics in the United States is that it becomes a time zone thing because Japan is way like their time zones are not synced up, so they're I don't know how many hours they're in front of us, but basically it's like a day and night sort of thing. So when they're having a lot of the big events, it's very hard to watch them live here because of the time difference,
Yeah,
and that really usually that hurts ratings. But I don't know.
yeah, but at least they have some replays available.
Yeah, of course. That's not as fun. You want to watch it live. I think it's more easy to
You
get
can
caught up in the Olympic spirit when you're watching something that's live versus something that's video on demand, sort of replay sort of thing. So you wanted to say something about Jackass Forever.
Well, yeah, it was briefly mentioned in well, where was it in the theaters movie? I think. Yeah,
Probably.
yeah. It was uh mentioned by two people, and I've watched the trailer, and it was classic Jackass.
Are you a fan of the
Well,
franchise?
I'm not a fan, but I liked the first three movies.
You've seen the first three movies. That's three more movies than I've seen.
Well, I've watched Jackass. You've watched Gossip Girl.
That's right.
Yeah. So
Yeah, between my iCarly and your Jackass, we have it all covered.
yeah, correct. No, yeah, it was um yeah.
So this is a movie
Tip
that's
tip
coming out this summer. Is that right?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure they won't show us something new. It's October 22, by the way.
Okay,
Um
this fall.
yeah. Um I don't think they are uh yeah, showing us the extremely crazy things because
No.
they all become older, so
Yeah.
let's see.
They're all gonna break their hip.
Yeah, I've in yeah, I won't spoil anything.
Well, one last thing to say about what's going on the server is regarding Netflix. They just released some of their financial results for, I guess the second quarter of this year,
Hmm?
and worldwide they added 1.5 million customers, but in the United States and Canada they lost almost like 420 some odd thousand, so almost a half a million subscribers in the U.S. and Canada. They lost that many, which I'm super surprised to hear. Like I don't know of a lot of people that cancel their Netflix. Do
Yeah,
you?
maybe it's
Do you juggle it like that? Like, do you just subscribe to Netflix and let it go month after month after month, or are you someone who subscribes for a month, watches everything they want to watch, and then unsubscribes for a
no,
while?
I have my main subscriptions, so Disney Plus, Netflix, and Amazon Prime. but that's only because for the Prime extras and not
Yeah.
for the video extras. And the Apple TV Plus, that's on and off. If I have a series that I want to watch, I will subscribe at the end of the series, so I don't have to wait
Yeah.
several weeks for it. But
Smart.
yeah, for Netflix, I've a subscriber since 2012 or something. So they've made a lot of money of me.
I'm the same way. Like I can't remember not being subscribed to Netflix. You know, I was a Netflix subscriber and user when the streaming launched. You know, like I used Netflix before they even had a streaming service, and I remember when it launched, basically with a bunch of junk and the Stars catalog. Like they were able to like sublease Stars's movie catalog from them, which included a lot of Disney stuff, and that really kickstarted their service. I think that's become a story that people forget about or aren't aware, but a huge chunk of Netflix's streaming content when it launched as a streaming service, I would guess something like 70 or 80% of that content was content that they were paying to get from Stars. And this was a huge deal because all of these other movie studios got mad at Stars for doing that because they were, they weren't getting any money from Netflix. Like Paramount wasn't getting any money from Netflix because Netflix was giving the money to Stars, and Stars was just passing along all these movies that they had the rights to. Because when Stars had negotiated that contract, nowhere in the contract did it say, "Oh yeah, you're not allowed to basically, sublease these movies out to a streaming platform." And it was like the one and only time anyone ever got away with it. But it really helped Netflix's streaming service. Otherwise, it would have just been an absolute bunch of junk.
Mm.
Anyway,
Yeah,
go ahead.
they paved the way for a lot of other streaming services.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I'm like you. I don't think I've ever unsubscribed to Netflix. There's always something on there that I want to watch. I don't know. There's always enough content on there for me.
Well, yeah, the content is a lot less in outside the United States. The major series and movies, yeah, we get that too, but the less known or the older ones, yeah, we need to look hard for them. But even if there is a month without content that I want to watch, I don't end the subscription for that month only. I mean, yeah, those €9 or whatever. Yeah, I don't want to the trouble or the difficulty to unsubscribe and to subscribe again with all the thing. Yeah, no, thank you.
Well, let's move on to
about Netflix. They to keep that going for a bit. Besides their revenues or their figures, they also announced mobile games.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm surprised, but let's see how they manage to do it. They say it's for free, but yeah, nothing is for free with Netflix.
Well,
even 4K is still paid. So
yeah, and when Netflix launched its streaming service, that was free too. You know, if you subscribe to a DVD by mail, if you had the DVD by mail subscription like I did back then, the streaming part was completely free. It was just an add-in for free. and it was like that for a long time until it wasn't, and that's where they make all of their money now. So
Yeah.
Netflix definitely has a history of introducing new parts of their business for free, and then once they get you used to using it, and prove that it's good and useful, then they say, well, now you're going to have to pay for it. Which, I mean, it's not a bad business model, but I mean, everyone sees it coming this time.
Yeah. 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 You either need to pay for it separately, or they just raise the general price of the subscription.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they'll do this time, but I would assume it'd be
We
a
will see.
separate subscription. But I mean, that's my guess. If I had to offer an opinion, I'd say it's some kind of add-on.
Yeah.
$5 or $7 a month add-on for the games. But are you optimistic about this? Like, I mean, if you were running Netflix, and someone came to you and said, "This is our idea for how to grow the company," what would your response be?
Um. Yeah. Trying something new is always good, in my opinion. Even when you have the history Netflix has. Um. But I don't know if uh, the way they are going with Netflix with uh yeah another with another uh um I'm looking for the word.
Well, it's like a different it's a different industry, right? Or a different
Yeah,
demographic
yeah,
that they're
that's
looking for.
that's the
Yeah.
word I was looking for. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know if that's the right choice for them, but yeah,
I think this is.
let's see.
I mean, no one cares what I think, but I think this is going to be a colossal failure. Like I don't. There's. I mean, you have companies like Microsoft, Sony, and Google that are all throwing money at this streaming video game sort of business, and then you have Apple that has also a subscription, like a game subscription, Apple Arcade, which is like a game subscription service basically. And as far as I can tell, all of these things are losing money, especially the like streaming, like the game streaming stuff from Google and Sony. Like I feel like these are solutions in search of a problem. I feel like everybody that wants to play a video game doesn't have a problem buying a console. I mean, because the good thing about streaming a video game, right, is you don't need all the CPU and GPU uh, power to play these intensive, these games that may be you may need powerful computer hardware to play because it's
Hmm.
all being done in the cloud and then streamed over to your whatever hardware you're using that doesn't have to be very powerful because it's not actually doing the processing. I hope that was clear how I described it. But
Yeah.
you have all these other companies like Google and Sony and stuff that are been trying to do this for a very long time, and as far as I can tell, it's not caught on. And I just I don't see a lot of people asking for this. Like the PS5 just came out, and the new Xbox just came out, and these things have a lot of processing power, and I just don't see. I just don't see the need or the want really at this point. I'm not saying it couldn't eventually get there, but man, it just seems like they're trying to do it because it can be done, but I'm not sure who wants it. And then you have companies like Nintendo that are using very modest chips in their Switch, Nintendo
Hmm.
Switch, and they can't sell them, they can't make them fast enough. So what would Nintendo need with a streaming video game service when they can very easily buy these very modest chips to run their systems off of, and it's not a problem for them? I don't know, man. It just seems like a good way to throw lots and lots of money at something to try to create a market. If I'm Netflix, like they're going to throw a bunch of money at this to try to create a market for streaming video games where you see these huge companies, Microsoft, Sony, Apple, Google, they're all doing the same thing, and they can't really get it off the ground. And I don't know.
Well,
It's either going to be genius because they got in early, or it's going to be a complete flop because nobody wants it. But I do think it is kind of a weird. It is kind of a misalignment maybe for Netflix. Like the people that want to watch streaming TV and video, like TV and movies, like there's definitely some overlap between that audience and people that like video games, but is the overlap, but is the typical Netflix subscriber also someone who plays video games? Maybe and probably. Is the average Netflix subscriber someone who's very interested in streaming video games? I don't think so a lot. So I would say that unless Netflix or any of these other streaming companies really, but Netflix is very poorly situated for this. Unless they get some kind of like exclusive games that you can't play anywhere but on Netflix, I don't see how they're going to make this work, because you have companies like Microsoft, Sony, Google, and Apple that are in good positions to get exclusive games. They have good relationships with game studios and people that make games and people in that industry, and even they don't seem to be able to lock down any big exclusives. So I don't really understand why Netflix thinks that they're going to beat these other people at that game. Anyway, tell me what you think.
I think that you, in my opinion, you can't compare Netflix to, let's say, Sony or to an Apple. Apple has an ecosystem where they can build on, and Apple Arcade is building on that ecosystem. So all the games that are in Apple's gaming service are optimized for their iDevices, for the MacBook, for the iPhone, iPad, etc. And for Netflix, they don't have a dedicated device they can work with. They need to make it work for basically all devices that can stream Netflix. So that's I think a different strategy.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that I've seen mentioned is that Netflix does have some IP that they could use on games, like to be like spin-off, have game spin-offs or whatever based on some of their IP. But I don't know, man. Like it just seems like a hard sell to me. Anyway, let's talk about some of the stuff that we've been watching. We've been talking about other stuff, but let's talk about some of the stuff that we've been watching. Now, we have both, looking at our list here, there was one show that came up that we've both been watching, and that's Loki. Why don't you talk a little bit about Loki and if you liked it and whatnot?
Well, at least Spectra is on my team again, so that's
Wow.
a win, and I can already end it with that. No,
His allegiance comes and goes. It switches all the time. So just wait a little bit longer, and it'll be back to me.
Challenge accepted. No, I like the ending. It made me curious, and I want to watch the new Marvel movie even more, to see what's next.
Yeah, big ending.
Yeah,
we'll try not to spoil it, but yeah.
I'm trying to figure a way to not spoil things, but just say enough.
Yeah.
There were some unexpected moments in it, and I liked that about it.
Sure.
I was worried when the fifth episode was released and the ending of the fifth episode. I was like, oh gosh, this will be a classic Marvel ending, but it wasn't, and that surprised me in a good way.
I wanted to say I was looking on the Disney Plus subreddit a couple
Hmm.
of days ago, and there was a post on there about Loki, and I was reading through the comments, and I got all the way down to the bottom of the comments, and there was a comment there that it was collapsed, right? Had so many downvotes that the comment had collapsed, and I couldn't even read to see what it is. So I expand the comment to see what could have deserved so many downvotes. And
Hmm.
it was somebody on there that had said something along the lines of episode 3 was a really bad and boring episode, and it's a shame that a lot of stuff, a lot of important plot points were discussed in episode 3, which really which sucks because episode 3 was such a bad episode. And
Hmm.
they got downvoted into oblivion. But I want to say that I completely agree, and all those downvotes don't are are invalid because I watched season 3, episode 3. Immediately when we got done watching it, I turned to the my family that I was watching with, and I said, "Man, that was a really boring episode." And then that was my exact. And so I want to stick up for that. Whoever said that on Reddit, like, got all those downvotes. I'm with you, man. Like, I'm gonna give you 100 upvotes for that comment because you're getting slammed for no good reason. But that's all to say that episode 6, which was the last episode, the final episode, the episode you were talking about just now, I also found to be really boring. So I'm just not a fan. Just not a fan. I don't know.
But
I'm
um,
glad for other people that liked it. Like I'm glad that you liked it. But
what did you expect from the ending? A
what?
classical Marvel ending?
No, that's a good question. So I thought like the episodes of Loki that really worked were the ones that had a lot of were like the energetic episodes, right? Like not necessarily a lot of action. I mean, there is a lot of action, but a lot of like walking and talking in the what is it called, the TVA, the time,
Yeah.
yeah, like when they're in the TVA and they're talking and figuring things out, and there's a lot of urgency about the conversations, and they're popping in here, popping in there, and a lot of that kind of stuff. Like that had like a lot of good energy, and it kept me wondering what was going to happen. But when things really slowed down, like in episode 3 and episode 6, and there's a lot of exposition in the dialogue, just kind of explaining things, it really loses it for me. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I, I realize I'm not a typical. I'm definitely not a typical Marvel fan because I don't. There's lots of the Marvel stuff that I don't like. I'll just say that. Like there's just a lot of it that I didn't enjoy, and I was just like I didn't even finish Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Um, but when I watched the first 2 episodes of Loki, I thought this is the best thing Marvel's done in a long time, based on those first 2 episodes. But then I don't know. It lost me. It wasn't. It just wasn't something I enjoyed. Um, Mainly because I just didn't feel. I didn't feel very emotionally invested in the characters or emotionally invested in the plot so much.
Hmm.
So when they spend a lot of time earnestly discussing these mega important plot points about the timelines and all this other stuff, like it was just hard for me to care because
But I think it's
I just didn't care. But that's me. I understand that I'm in the minority.
well, I think it's all uh with pretty much the complete Marvel universe. And I think it's also for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You have to watch it to understand some clues that are being given in future movies. For example, in the upcoming movie uh, Doctor Strange, um, I'm almost 100% sure that there will be references made to both WandaVision and Loki, the series. I mean, or the things that happened in that series. And if you didn't watch those series, it would be hard to understand the clues, and they might be just subtle cues of clues uh, that make it easier to understand things, if that makes sense.
No, I'm sure you're right. But I think at this point, after so many years and so many Marvel movies and these three series, of these three Disney Plus series, I think I'm just kind of over watching stuff that I only kind of enjoy just so that I can know what's going to just so I can keep up on the plot points that are going to be present on the next movie that I'm only going to kind of like. It's like, why do I keep, you watch something, you're like, well, if I don't watch this one, I'm not going to know what's happening in the next one and the one after that. But at some point I just have to say I don't care. I don't care. But I mean, that's, yeah, I mean, what you're saying is alluding to or touching upon what Marvel's done very well. Like the one thing Marvel has done here that no one else has been able to do, which is to kind of create a series of interwoven, I don't know. I hesitate to say they're interwoven, but they're loosely interwoven movies that are, a lot of movies that all loosely take place in the same universe, that all have a loose effect on each other. And I mean, that's certainly something. Like, no one's been able to do, like, I don't know, 20 movies or whatever of all that all take place in the same cinematic universe and all have ripple effects on each other. So that certainly is something, but it's I don't know. The novelty of it's kind of wearing off for me, because for every Marvel movie that I like, there's two more Marvel movies that I think are just okay. Like, I quite enjoyed Black Widow, but I'm not sure I liked any of the Avengers movies, for example. And those were like the flagship, the flagship films of those franchises were the Avengers ones. And I don't know, man. They just weren't. They didn't hit for me. But I'm definitely in the
I
minority.
think you should go back to your Gossip Girls.
Yeah, I think so. I didn't even watch that show. I haven't even watched it. Anyway, I get your point. So I've watched a bunch of stuff. I want to briefly touch on some of these things, and then I'll turn it back over to you so you can fill us in on some of the things you've been watching, because there's some things on here I want to hear your take on. But watched a couple of things on HBO Max. I watched the first 3 episodes of Mare of Easttown, and that's Mare like Mare, not Mayor. It's hard. Like I mistook it for Mayor, like May. OR. But anyway, Mare of Easttown, which is basically a slow progressing story of a murder and the interpersonal relationships between all the people involved in solving this murder, and I should probably just not say more than that. But it's very good. It's very moody. It's very it's dark, but it's not like really dark. It's kind of like a mid tempo, mid mood sort of I guess slow burn is an adjective you could use, but I don't find it to be especially slow or anything. It's just very the pace is very steady through the whole thing. And if you like shows like murder mystery shows that really give you a chance to get to know all of the people involved and their backstory and how they all relate to one another, then you like this. It's all really good. Like, it's all really well done. Like, all the acting, directing, cinematography, all that stuff. It's really good. It's a really good example of a very solid HBO show. You know, I think HBO for their dramas and their suspense and dramas all have a certain um, level of quality, and
Mm-hmm.
this is right up there with the rest of them. But it's only a mini series, so it's like 6 or 7 hour long episodes, and then my understanding is that's all. Like, there's not going to be, unless something happens. You know, you never say never, but it was meant to be a standalone miniseries with no continuation. So that's
Yeah.
very good. I'd recommend that to anybody. Also on HBO Max, I watched both seasons of a show called Full Bloom, which is a reality show where people compete to um, do floral designs. Now, this is not something that I have any kind of interest in particular. Like, floristry is not. I have no background with it and no particular love for it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but watching talented people do the things that they're talented at always interests me. People that are good at their craft, no matter what
Mm-hmm.
that craft is. You know, if you find a good craftsman who's good at their craft and you can watch them do it, it's always amazing, right? Like, no matter what they're doing, it's always very
Yep.
interesting. And so, Full Bloom is one of those shows. It's talented people doing what they know how to do best, which in this case involves floral arrangement, basically. But it's not just like a bunch of people making floral arrangements in a vase. They do like large scale installations as well, like stuff that's massive, stuff that's like maybe 30 feet tall and 20 feet wide, or like chandelier, like big chandelier pieces you would hang from the ceiling of a big party, or um, other things like that. Like, it's very inventive. It's not just make a floral arrangement in this vase. It's very large scale stuff, and it's really interesting. It's really good. It's 2 seasons. I think the first season is like 8 episodes, and the second season is maybe 6 episodes. It's slightly smaller, slightly shorter. But if you like those kind of shows, like if you like Great British Bake Off,
Mm-hmm.
it's got a
Yeah.
similar vibe in that it's not a bunch of ugly people being very competitive and trying to undermine each other. It's a little bit more on the chill side. Although everyone there is serious and they're all playing to win, because it is like $100,000 or something that they win. The winner gets, but it's a little bit of a nicer environment, and I really enjoyed it. Really liked that one.
Okay.
On Apple TV Plus, I finished watching The Mosquito Coast, the first season of that. I think it was 6 or 7 episodes, hour long. Really good, really intense kind of suspense drama, almost like a spy. Have like a very kind of like a spy suspense vibe. Really well done. Nothing really like the movie from like 30 years ago or whatever. Harrison Ford was in an adaptation of, it's a book. The Mosquito Coast is based on a book, and is a book. Let me start over. The Mosquito Coast is a book, and they adapted that book about 30 years ago into a movie that Harrison Ford was in, and this is a new adaptation of that book into a series that really must add some stuff to the book, because there's a lot of stuff in here that wouldn't have been like technology in the show that didn't exist when the book was written. So they've adapted it and updated it or whatever. But really good, really intense. A lot of good acting, a lot of good cinematography and action. So I would recommend that. There's probably just one episode that's a little flat, but the rest is really good. Highly recommend that on Apple TV Plus. Apple TV Plus debuted a show over the weekend called Schmigadoon, which is a half-hour musical comedy, which you don't get a lot of. There's not a lot of musical TV shows, or even movies for that matter. And this
Mm-hmm.
one's like more of a comedic. It's definitely a comedic musical, half hour. Has a really novel concept. and a very interesting visual style. And if you any of that sounds like you might be interested, check it out, because I think you'll like it. If you like musical comedies or musicals or comedies or things
Mm-hmm.
that have unique visual styles, I think it's worth checking out. Just watch, like, if you watch like the first 15 minutes, or maybe if you watch the first episode and you don't like it, then just stop, because you're not going to like the rest of it. There's only 2 episodes out now. The third one comes out Friday, I think. But I can just tell you now, like, if you watch the first episode or you get 2/3 of the way into the first episode and you don't enjoy it, you can just turn it off, because it's not going to, you're not going to connect with it at all. But I like it. It's really good. That's Smigadoon on Apple TV Plus. On Netflix, I want to mention 2 shows quickly that I've nearly finished. Sweet Tooth is the first show. Completely finished that first season. Really good. It's another show, though. If you watch like the first episode and it doesn't hit for you, then you can quit, because it's not really going to change. But I think it's really good, really inventive. The production design, like the visual design, is really good and really unlike anything that's on TV right now. So that's Sweet Tooth on Netflix. The first season is completely out. You can watch it now. They have not announced if they're going to do a second season or not. Sweet Tooth is based on a graphic novel. And I don't think they finished the story during the first season. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm really hoping they have a second season so they can give it a proper ending, because the end of the first season does not give it a proper ending. It does not tie up all the loose ends. But I thought it was very good, and I'll recommend, if you think it might look good, if you've been on the fence about it, I'd say definitely give it a shot. The other Netflix show that I've watched is season 4 of Atypical, which is a half-hour dramatic comedy. Main character is a young man with autism, and it's about him trying to kind of navigate his way through life, and how his family is able to support him or not support him, and how the few friends that he's able to make along the way are able to be a part of his life. Very good. Like, it's in its 4th season. Netflix has not been doing many shows that go beyond 3 seasons, so the fact that this one got a 4th season speaks highly of the enthusiasm people had about the show. I've watched season 4 all except for the very last episode. I can't bring myself to watch it just yet, because I kind of don't want the series to end, but I'll probably watch it tomorrow and see how it ends. But Atypical, check it out. There's a lot of it, 4 seasons worth of about 10 episodes per season. So that's all there. I would recommend that. And the last thing I want to mention is an old show. It's No Reservations with Anthony Bourdain. You can watch all of these seasons, all the episodes on HBO Max right now. And I've been very familiar with Anthony Bourdain since his very first book, Kitchen Confidential, which I read when it first came out, probably 20 years ago. So I'm familiar with Bourdain, and I watched his show on Food Network when he had a show on Food Network, back when Food Network actually had good shows that weren't all just cooking, like cheesy, low rent cooking competition junk. But when he went over to CNN and did the show his show called No Reservations, it's like it's basically a travel food show. I never got around to watching it, but I noticed that they're all on HBO Max now, so I thought I'm going to start making my way through these. And I've watched like the first 4 episodes of season 1 and really like it. Like, it's no mystery what this show is or what it's about or who Anthony Bourdain is at this point, but but it's there. This is, I guess, just a kind of a reminder to people that if you haven't seen it and you've been meaning to check it out, it's on HBO Max. CNN Plus was just announced this week. They announced that CNN Plus is going to be a thing, and they announced not a lot of details about it, but one of the things they did mention about CNN Plus when it comes online in the first quarter of next year is that it's going to have all of the episodes of No Reservations as well. So I'm not sure what that means. I don't know if that means that they're going to take it off. If they're going to take it off of HBO Max and have it be exclusively on CNN Plus or not. So it's just be aware that if you have HBO Max and you've been meaning to watch No Reservations, maybe try to do it before the beginning of next year, because it might leave HBO Max and go over to CNN Plus, but I don't know. I don't know if that's really going to happen or not, but something to keep an eye on. And Mark, that's what I've been watching.
And you've been watching that only the past 7 days?
No, not all of it. Like Full Bloom, I've been watching for multiple weeks, and Mosquito Coast, I've been watching it as it's been released. It just finished.
Yeah, okay.
Like a week or two ago, it finished. And
yeah, okay.
And Schmigadoon just came out. Mayor of Easttown's been out for a while, but I just started it. Mayor of Easttown ended maybe a month ago, so I just got around to being able to start with it. So not all in the 7 days. I'm not a monster. I usually don't watch during the week, like Monday through Thursday. I don't watch all that much TV. Maybe an hour or an hour and 20 minutes, something like that. Usually at night. But on the weekends, I have time to catch up. But
okay,
that's enough about me. I want to know what you've been watching.
Sorry, come again.
That's enough about me. And my TV habits. I want to know about your TV habits. What have you been watching?
Well, not as much as you. I've watched The Tomorrow War. That's on Amazon Prime.
And did you like it?
Well, yeah, I expected it to be somewhat the same as Edge of Tomorrow, a movie from 2014.
Yeah, I really like that movie.
Think.
Yeah.
But it wasn't at all. It was a completely different movie. Yeah, sure, it plays in the future, but it's not like he's reliving it over and over again. It's just some things happened in the future. Trying not to spoil things.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either.
Haven't or have?
No, I have not.
Okay, something has happened in the future, and they need to help, and yeah. If I say more, it will be spoiled. Yeah. So
this has Chris Pratt in it, right?
Yeah, and usually the Chris Pratt movies are great in my opinion, but all the there are some other great actors in it as well.
Wow, so you liked it?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. Good. Yeah, I didn't expect it, but I really liked it. Also, the visuals were quite good.
Yeah, it's a big budget. It's a big budget movie. One of us should mention that it's available on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
What else?
I've also watched Spiral from the book of Saw. Okay. So it's basically a revival of the Saw franchise, and it's led by Chris Rock. So he has approached Lionsgate. I've got an idea for a reboot for it, and they agreed with it. So yeah, Spiral is the result of it, and it's typical Saw movie, but with a twist.
Can you say what the twist is without ruining it? Probably not.
Well, the recurring topic in the last Saw movies is that they are looking for a copycat, and they are looking for it again.
Okay.
But it might not be a copycat,
Ah.
but it might be as well.
Oh.
So, and it's fun to see the cast of the previous Saw movies in this movie as well. So they've kept the original cast in place.
Right. So all the things that happened in the previous movies matter to this movie.
Not all of them, but yeah, there are
Okay.
some links and flashbacks to the
So
other movies.
So
Yeah,
it's in continuity with
yeah,
almost everything else. That's good.
yeah, correct.
All right.
And
Saw. And how did you see that? How did you watch it?
I bought it.
Okay. On
So
on
yes,
Amazon or iTunes or what?
on iTunes.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, yeah, it's in cinemas, and I don't think it's streamable, but I was able to buy it. So
Sure.
and the other thing I watched during my lunch breaks, because it was only a 20-ish minutes episode, and it's something you don't need to keep your full mind with it, or your
Yeah.
full interest with it. So it's the world's most amazing vacation rentals, and it's surprisingly good. Usually those are it's on Netflix, by the way. Usually those are quite fantastical, and everything is made pretty, and everything is great, and oh, this is even more great, and blah blah blah. But this was more down to earth. Sure, they have a luxury and a unique and a budget one, and the luxury is great, and it's is usually better than the budget one, but it 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 shows you different ways of vacation with a low budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting.
Have you
But
seen? Have you
don't
seen?
expect
Go ahead.
don't expect to be uh, blown away by uh, um, by the oh god, what's that word? Let me translate it real quick.
By the by the quality. By the
Well, quality is not the right word. It's like the hosts know a lot of the places they are going to, but they are all not quite
professional.
well, yeah, they are, but no offense, but they weren't university students. Um,
Not
I,
not the brightest bunch, right?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
the word
okay,
I was looking
yeah.
for. Thank you.
Yeah. Have you seen this reminds me of a show that I really like called Instant Hotel. Have you heard of this show? It's also
Yeah,
on,
I've heard of it. Yeah.
yeah, it's also on Netflix, and it's basically like it all takes place in Australia. They get a group of people together, and they all try to compete to see who has the best Airbnb. Like they all have basically like a house or an apartment that they rent out for to vacationers. And there's 2 seasons of it, and it's a weird competition. Like it's like a weird thing to compete on. Like whose whose rental property is the nicest rental property, but it's really good. Like it's like a strangely captivating show, and maybe not for the right reasons. Like the people that are on the show are kind of weird and kind of catty, and the whole thing is kind of like very can be sort of awkward, but I want to recommend that show to you. Instant Hotel. It's on Netflix. There's 2 seasons of it. They're all like half an hour. I think they're all half hour long.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like one of those shows that sounds really dumb, and then you watch it and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to watch what happens next because these people are crazy. I don't know. I'm usually not attracted to those kind of shows, but Instant Hotel was one that I took to right away.
Okay, I'm going to watch it if it's available and when I have
Oh
lunch
yeah,
breaks at work. So
yeah.
yeah.
It's pretty interesting. It's probably, and it's another one of those shows where like if you watch the first one and you don't like the format or whatever, then just go ahead and bail on it because it is pretty consistent all the way through. But it is one of those shows where like you get to know the people as the episodes go on. You get to know the how their behavior and their kind of background, and it gets better as it goes. Actually, now that I think about it, because the people that are like you think are kind of jerks at the beginning, like they just keep being jerks, and like just when you think they couldn't be like a little bit, just when you think they couldn't be more rude, they get more rude, and you're like, oh my god, what is wrong with these people? But yeah, it's really good, and it has a fun subreddit too. There's a fun subreddit for it. Anyway, is there anything else you wanted to mention, Mark?
No, that's all I've been watching lately.
Okay, let's wrap it up then. But before we do, let's briefly mention a few things that are coming up. July 23rd, Ted Lasso. The second season of Ted Lasso is coming out on Apple TV Plus. That's January 23rd. On August 1st, Friday Night Lights, which is not a new show. It's a great show, a fantastic show, but not a new show. It is coming back to Netflix. It was on Netflix for a while, then it left Netflix for a long time, and now it's coming back to Netflix on August 1st. So if you need if you've never watched it before, here's your chance to watch it. And if you've seen it before and want to watch it again, it's going to be back on Netflix starting in August. A show or a book called Anansi Boys by who's the author? Neil Gaiman wrote the book, and Amazon Prime has just picked up the book to become a series. I don't know if this is important to anybody. I'm not a big fan myself, but he is a very popular author, and he had a book called Good Omens that was made into a movie or made into a TV show that did. I'm not sure if that's on Netflix or if it's on another. I'm not sure what streaming service it's on. Maybe it's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. Good Omens on Amazon. But they're going to adapt another one of his books for Amazon. And was there something else we wanted to mention? Oh, you had a movie you wanted to mention.
Well, yeah, Vacation Friends. It's I haven't seen the trailer, but what I've seen from it looks pretty good, and it's coming to both Hulu and Disney Plus.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's
Okay, so it'll probably be Hulu in the United States and Disney
and
Plus,
Disney Plus Star in the rest of the world.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
It looks very funny.
And it's from
I watched the trailer. It's got John Cena, and I think he can be a pretty funny dude. And I generally don't like comedies, especially comedy movies, because I think comedy is really hard to do. I think comedy is like the hardest genre to do, because what I think is funny is not what you think is funny. Times a billion. So I think this is a really difficult genre, but this looks fun. This actually looks kind of stupid and funny. And I'll probably watch it, especially if it's going to be on Hulu.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we went over a little bit, so we should probably say goodbye. Thanks for joining us, all the you that were able to make it for the live chat here. And we'll do another one next Wednesday, same time. So until then, we will see you around the Discord. Say bye, Mark.
See ya.
All right, bye everybody.
Bye bye.